What is up, everyone? JD here. I hope you're doing well today. Really excited to get into this review with you all. Let's jump into it. All right, we are looking at one that I've been dying to check out. I've only experienced one of these from a different brand. So we have a gravity knife here today. We are looking at the Remette swordfish, which I think is a very cool piece from Remette into the gravity knife world. And there's a lot here to really like. So we're going to kick it off with the steel. You got M390 clip point, actually done pretty slicey. I was very impressed by this. Usually with these more short blades, you find that they leave too much blade stock on there and they can't get it thin enough for it to be slicey for EDC. That wasn't the case here. Also, you got a very neutral handle, so during the cut test portion, and it is a small sample because it is a review pass around, it was pretty good. I must admit it was comfortable. There were no hot spots. I had no issues. The blade moved through the materials very nicely. Now it is a clip point, so it's not going to be great for the utility cuts. But at the end, I was able to fairly easily strap up the M390. Now, where the blade and the scales kind of meet here in the middle, it's a little bit pronounced and it sticks out, so you just got to be a little careful with the honing rod, and you want to make sure that you angle your strop a little bit so that you can get all the way back to the edge. And the sharpening tool, it's done fairly well. This probably isn't meant to be a knife that you want to really lay the angle back on. You probably want to take advantage of the factory edge while you can, and then sharpen it up carefully, making sure that you're not gonna, you're gonna want to tape off the titanium and everything like that to make sure that you're really not hitting the edges here and running into those titanium scales. So M390 seems done well. I think Remette has been pretty transparent that they, along with all other production Chinese OEs that I have seen, are running their M390 at 59 to 61, which is why I think a lot of people were like, if you can't do 61 to 63, just give us a different steel like S90V that is going to thrive at 59 to 61. It's going to, it's going to be optimal heat treat for M390. So a lot of the things that I like on here are going to be the golf ball pattern. I like that a lot. You got some gearing going on here, both around where your finger lands and then a little bit here where your other fingers land. But if I'm being honest, it's not a huge benefit. Your gripping here is going to be a little bit better. I think this is just more for the aesthetics. They even gave you a little lanyard spot here, which I thought was interesting. You don't usually see that on a gravity knife per se. But again, if you wanted a piece that's going to be more of a statement piece, which I truly think that this is a statement piece that you can EDC. You have a titanium pocket clip here that is what I believe recessed into the scale here, not reversible. As you can see, this side is completely show side, but the advantage of this that I have seen is really you don't need it to be reversible. If you put it in the right pocket, then it comes laid out right hand carry. If you want to move it to the left pocket, you can actually take the knife apart and flip the blade over, and it's exactly laid out perfectly so that you can flip the blade over and carry it lefty. The only real difference here going from right to left, it's just going to be that the lanyard hole itself is going to be on the top versus on the bottom. I don't know if that's a big deal. Anybody that's into lanyards, if you can drop something in the comments for anybody else that might want to know the answer to that question, definitely do. I think it would help. Now, this one's very different. The XOM that I had in particular, it was a two-piece construction, and you kind of lifted the handle up and you could lock and unlock the handle, which you don't need that for this because the switch, the way that this operates, is kind of like the lock in itself. And even if you hit it by accident, it's not going to release the blade enough until you go to the top. You got to get it, like an OTF, you got to get it all the way out here for it to open up enough to let the blade drop out. So if if you're worried about that in the pocket and you think like, oh, what if I go in and I kind of bump it? It's a pretty strong lever. I would say I would give this a solid 5.9 to 6.1 as far as what you need strength wise to push it. It's not obnoxious, but it is something that I think that you're not going to worry about in the pocket. I think is what I'm trying to say there, is you're not going to need to worry about that one. So it's very cool the way that this one's designed. So I don't know if I'll be able to get a good enough angle there, but you can see the notches here on the blade stock itself, and where it kind of claws and clamps down and acts like a stop. And then in the closed position, the way that this one works here is it allows these claws to close further, and it actually really tightly keeps the blade in place. There's no jiggling, which the XOM, I would say that's its disadvantage, is that you needed the lock separate for the two-piece construction, and then because they needed the tolerances on the way that that one works, that there's some play without being able to really lock the blade in place. And I think what Remette has done with this design is they've done something where you don't have the jingling that you have with the XOM. I will say the XOM, to me, a little bit better ergonomically. This is really solid though, because I feel like when I say that, people are going to automatically think that this is not a comfortable knife to hold, but it is. It is very comfortable to hold. I enjoyed it very much. Using it, handling it. The drop point was a very useful EDC blade shape, and it was a really good geometry. And so was the XO. No knocks on the XO there, but what I think that they really did here is they came up with a system that keeps it from having like jiggling, which I think some people may interpret as it being like cheap for the money, and it's really the way that that one is designed in a two-piece construction, being able to open and close it. There's some tolerances and some play. Now there is a little bit of play here on the side to side, but none on the up and down. Ironically, this gravity knife reminds me of what you would experience with an OTF versus a gravity knife. It's quite interesting, and I wonder if they have future plans to potentially make this into an OTF firing, that the mechanism fires, opens and closes. I feel like you could probably, instead of going full coffin design on the handle, you could probably just have, the knife, and you could probably still do the coffin, but you could probably have as much thickness down here as here, and then you could do the spring and have it be a premium OTF. I think the weight, though, if I'm honest, which we're going to do here after we do some size comparisons, if you go OTF, I would probably say just, aluminum scales, do your golf ball patterns, and do like a black wash finish, gray, reds, blues, things like that. I think would be really cool. Now, it could be that there is a desire to have a premium OTF done in titanium with inlays, which you can still do inlays in aluminum. That could be a desire that's out there. For me, I'd probably just go with like a shred or 12 carbon fiber. I don't really like, I think this is that Chinese fat carbon. I could be wrong, but I don't think it kind of clashes. I think they wanted some contrast, but I think it kind of clashes. I think full titanium, or you could do like a shred or 12 carbon fiber, or you could do like a red carbon fiber, blue carbon fiber, which looks like a shredded carbon fiber with a little hint of reds and blues in there. I think that would be a little bit more upscale. I'm going to do this in reverse order. I'm actually going to weigh the knife first, because I am kind of curious to see what this comes in at, and also what a titanium premium OTF, if they could do that. Again, I'm not a huge OTF guy, but I think they could. What that would end up being as far as weight. This feels like 4 ounces or above 3.5. Yeah, so this is a 4.3 ounce knife, so it's actually a little bit heavier than I thought. Now, to be fair, the Shaman I think is 5.2 ounces, so if you have a Shaman, this is still lighter than that, and you're getting titanium here. Let me grab a couple of knives for a size comparison. All right, so we got a couple of budget knives that we're going to look at first. We got the QSP Ripley. I love this knife. And then my favorite budget Kaiser to date, which is going to be the mini grouper. And you can see this is definitely a full-size knife. It is very comparable, a little bit smaller than the Ripley, but the Ripley is definitely more of a full-size knife. So I'm probably going to bring the grouper out here for closed and thickness comparisons just to help you guys out to see what this will be like carrying. All right, so I did want to bring out something a little bit smaller, so I picked up the Vosteed Hedgehog, and then I wanted something a little bit more straight. So normally I bring out my Spydercos out here and they're a little curved and the big blade, but this is a little bit more slender. So I wanted to bring my Fractus out here, and then also to be able to kind of demonstrate where I think, like, you know, an Arctic inlay or something like that would go really well with this. Like, I think Casey did a very good job in the selections that he chose, because the all blacked out one I think is just the shred carbon fiber, or twilt carbon fiber, and then he just did, you know, an Arctic, which I think is a very popular color, and you know, Casey likes the blues, but I think it's a very good comparison here. Let's do close profiles and then we'll go ahead and score out the knife. And as you can see, closed out, guys, it's very slender. You know, it's no worse in length than either knife on the table, a little bit longer than the grouper, definitely less presence than either knife on the table here. And then thickness, it is a little bit thicker, but it is a gravity knife that operates like an OTF. So I think I kind of understand the thickness on that. And then just comparing it to the mini grouper, it's actually not that much difference there. You got nested liners on the mini grouper with a scale on top, and I think that's why this is so good. All right, final thoughts and impressions on this. You know, Remette just really, you know, they're a new company. I think, you know, like Kunwu, when they came out, they had really compelling prices that brought attention to the brand. But what's going to happen with these premium materials and steels is you're going to see the price eventually going to need to go up in order for them to be able to stay in business and be able to make a profit enough to be able to do other materials, other knives and things of that nature. But I think for what you get from Remette, especially now, you know, in the early stages of Remette, I think this is exceptional value for money. You're getting M390 at a very acceptable heat treat for EDC. You're getting a lot of details with premium materials here on the handle with titanium, golf ball patterns. You're getting some milling here for design, and then chamfering here for grip. You're getting a titanium switch. They even thought about inlays. I think this is probably something any scale maker would be able to make for you if you wanted to try to personalize it on your own. And then they had enough awareness to make this perfectly symmetrical to be able to reverse and flip it for lefties to be able to operate. The construction's nice. They found a way to do a gravity knife without having the rattles or the shakes or anything like that. So I think all of that is really compelling here. I'm really impressed with this, although I do prefer the ergos on the XOM slightly over this. This coffin shape still really, really good for ergos. My score on this one, guys, is actually going to be a 7.9. Very, very strong. The only thing that pulls it back a little bit for me is I think they chose poorly with some of the inlays. If this were the twilled carbon fiber that they had thrown in here, I'd actually go 8.1. That really is how much that I hate that color. And it's personal preference too. Somebody may like this color, and that could be the 8.1 for you, but this one here pulls it back a little bit for me. I think this is really awesome. You know what I forgot to mention, guys? I forgot, because I've been carrying it with the pocket clip, but they included this leather sheath. Now, it's not the most premium leather out there, you know, if I'm being completely honest with you. You know, it feels okay. It almost feels like, you know, it's probably like a really cheap leather. And I'm sorry to say that, because I think Remette does premium materials with everything else. But I think this is nice because if you wanted to pocket drop it, right? If you didn't want to carry it with the pocket clip, this is a nice option because it still keeps the profile pretty slick. I think, you know, to be able to drop it in your pocket, or maybe if you want to throw it in your backpack, if you carry your EDC in your backpack going to work, which I do. I carry some of my EDC in my work bag. This is a nice option that they include this, right, with the purchase of this. It's not like you got to go out there and get it separate. So I did kind of forget about that. But let me know what you think about the Remette swordfish. You know, I don't know. You're gonna have to check the laws for you. Here in Virginia, we fortunately last year were able, thanks to knife rights, we're able to now own and carry gravity knives, OTS, etc. So I don't think there's any limitations on pocket knives anymore in Virginia, which I'm super grateful for, because I just think, you know, it is a cutting tool. Now, I understand there are some designs out there for self-defense, and I think it's still perfectly fine for you to have something on you to defend yourself. You're not going to stop bad actors from being bad actors with these laws, right? They're going to do illegal crap anyway, right? So only person you're hurting are law-abiding citizens who are not going to carry it because they don't want to get in trouble. But anyway, let me know what you think about the swordfish in the comments down below. I'd love to hear your feedback on this one. And if this is not one that you're into, thank you for watching to this point first and foremost. And just leave a comment saying hi on your way out. Give me a pocket dump if you want. I do love checking out what you guys have as far as your gear is concerned. And hit that like on your way out. If you enjoyed and you're new, definitely consider subscribing. I'd love to have you follow along. And a very special thanks to those channel members out there. You guys are amazing. I love you all. I hope you have a fantastic week. I'll catch you on the next one. Peace, guys.